Hello, my friend, Pastor Kurt here, and I've got a very serious question for you today. How free are you? As Americans, we like to think we're so free. We have all of our rights and all of our freedoms. And what I've discovered is the person that actually puts us in captivity is almost always ourselves. Even though we have all these freedoms, we enter into captivity. I mean, think about this. We do this with our schedules. We overschedule. We do this with our expectations, what we want from other people and what other people want from us. We do this with, notifications on our phone, beeping and controlling us all the time and on our watches. And we do this with Netflix. We're like, I have to binge watch the whole season. I can't even stop at this one. What is controlling you? What have you entered into that is actually controlling you? How free are you? This is one of the points that the Apostle Paul tries to make in the entire book of Romans, especially Romans chapter 6. He's trying to shock his listeners into realizing that there's a freedom that they haven't grabbed a hold of yet, that they're kind of like, they have Stockholm Syndrome. Now, the Apostle Paul didn't know what Stockholm Syndrome is. Do you? It's when a person is taken captive, and to help cope with the captivity and the stress of that, they become friends with their captors. The Patty Hearst is probably the most famous American example of this. 1979, she was kidnapped by a terrorist organization. She was tortured by them. She was abused by them. She was beaten. She was treated horribly. And yet, she ended up robbing banks for them. She ended up going on camera and saying, these guys are my friends and I'm with them. And it wasn't until after she was actually rescued and many years of counseling that she realized she was a victim of Stockholm Syndrome. Why do I say this? The Apostle Paul writes this in Romans chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. Listen to this. For we know that our old self was crucified with him, so that the body ruled by sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin, because anyone who's died has been set free from sin. Do you realize how free you are from sin because of what Christ has done? You're set free from sin. Your old body has been put to death. You are set free from sin. In fact, the only thing keeping you in sin is your lack of faith in believing that Christ is sufficient to get you completely out of sin. Two thoughts. Number one, do you really believe that Christ died for you? I mean, it's easy to believe that Christ died for everyone. Christ died for the holy people. Christ died for Mark Clark and Andrew McCourt, and Christ died for all these spiritual people. But do you really believe that Christ died for you, that he suffered and died with your sins, the weight of your sins on him? When you have the epiphany that Christ died for you, it frees you to rise above the sin, the power of the gratitude and grace of that. So, do you believe that Christ died for your sin? And have you made yourself dead to sin? Have you given up the thrill of sin? Have you seen sin for what it is? Sometimes we find our significance in sin. Sometimes we can't detox from our sin because, we like our sin. Have you understood what Christ paid for your sin and how damaging your sin is? When you see your sin as the captor that it is, as the terrorist that it is, as the torturer that it is, then you understand that every single person who has been crucified with Christ is free from the torture of sin.